Say hello to my little friend.
Hello and welcome to The Lucky Roll, an eclectic channel for eclectic games. And today we're previewing an early copy of Crimopolis from Cheap Sheep Games. It's a victory point game where players compete for maximum prestige/victory points in a 1926 American gangster setting by doing jobs, seizing buildings and killing other gangsters through a combination of take-that style fortune cards or by directly ambushing other players. The player, or should I say gangster, with the most prestige wins the game. There are a lot of little mechanics in this game, but they blend together very well. The board itself unlocks with a series of tiles laid by players on their turn, which dictates where players must go in order to do their crime jobs.
Made it, ma! Top of the world!
Gangsters can only be placed on the side of a street or in the building itself. A gangster does not occupy an entire tile, so a move action such as simply turning the corner can actually count as an entire move action for players, so they must be aware of this as they maneuver their pieces accordingly. As players explore, they unveil more parts of the map and can frustrate other players by putting a needed job tile, such as say the church, as far away from another competing player's gangsters as possible. They can also block the routes to this particular tile by placing their own gangsters in the way. Whenever opposing gangsters meet in the same street, they'll kill each other. It's a simple 1-for-1 mechanic. So if two gangsters of a certain colour meet, they'll just simply kill each other. If the odds are 2v1, the player with the extra gangster wins, but he'll still lose a gangster. And if the odds are 3v2, the ambushing player loses 2 gangsters, and so on. For every 2 gangsters you kill, you earn a prestige point, so it's worth keeping an eye on potential ambush opportunities. The action points, or turns taken by a player, is dictated by a very effective and clever little time mechanic, where every move or action used takes time, and the players only have 7 hours on their turn to complete their actions. So, for example, moving a gangster costs 1 hour. Recruiting a new gangster will cost 2 hours. Drafting a fortune card costs 2 hours. Occupying a building costs 3 hours, and completing a job costs the actual hours written on the card. And once a player has used up their hours, the turn moves on to the next player. If a player finishes their turn with any hours left over, these hours accumulate for the next player. So for example, if I finish my turn with an hour spare, the next player will have 8 hours to use in their turn as opposed to 7.
I'll make him an offer he can't refuse.
As well as taking jobs to gain prestige points, players can also invest in their fortune, in which they can take a fortune action card that directly affects play by killing other gangsters or sabotaging their criminal efforts, and they can even earn prestige by doing so. There's a nice variety of job cards, and they vary in terms of gangsters and hours needed to complete the job. So for example, if a job requires 3 gangsters to complete it, but another player has gangsters in between them and the job location, then the current player will have to send not only the required amount of gangsters for the job, but also extra ones to eliminate any enemy gangsters on the way. So for example, with this job, I'd be sending 4 gangsters towards the speakeasy as opposed to just the bare minimum 3. Upon completing a job, players draw a newsflash card and its effects take place immediately. Now these can range from positive effects such as granting extra time or negative ones such as removing all gangsters from the streets. Finally, the last thing I want to point out is the graveyard, which to me is the centerpiece of the prototype game. As well as tallying up the amount of dead gangsters in the game, it also doubles as a score tracker for prestige. And I have to say, it's one of my favourite parts of Crimopolis because it's a sign of the love that went into this game. All the designers had to do was produce a simple and cheap score tracker. Instead, They went to the extra effort of taking something that was purely functional and make it both visually appealing and fun. There's just something silly and, to me, fun about opening up the top of a church and grabbing a gravestone so I can place it on my casualty tally. It's a little touch that lightens the game and makes it a bit more fun rather than antagonistic, and it gives a nice Dick Tracy kind of vibe to the proceedings. When I played this prototype in my local club, it was the graveyard that commanded everyone's attention and got people interested in the game. And I'm delighted to see that the designers went the extra mile for just this little piece and this little part of the game. You are either at the table or on the menu. As for the game itself, it's pure fun. The mechanics are straightforward and blend together very well. The simplicity of a straight 1-for-1 death ratio on the combat ambushes as part of the game was actually very refreshing. Because there's no dice rolls or combat modifiers, you aren't wasting time slowing down the pace of the game with protracted combat. Combat's over straight away. It also means strategically positioning your gangsters in certain areas has real weight. You can prevent or slow other gangsters from scoring up high prestige jobs by simply getting in the way, forcing them to squander time and resources either going into a place mob-handed or going around the long way. Indeed, if you want to be a combative player, you can focus solely on drawing fortune cards and killing other gangsters, just for the fun of it, and use the high body count to garner gamer prestige at the end. However, if you draw the ire of all other players, they also will quite happily wreak vengeance back on you as well. A wise guy's always right. Even when he's wrong, he's right. At the time of recording, this game is still available to back on Kickstarter, and I strongly urge you to check it out before it's gone. As this game, even in its current prototype stage, is still a very fun and simple one that's accessible to everyone, with a very fun theme, and one I intend to back myself, as the core gameplay is as solid as a set of concrete shoes. So this is Sean from The Lucky Roll. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff. And until next time, good luck, God bless, and don't be a stoolie.